Hi guys, today we'll talk about CMAT का GK. आज का मेन एजेंडा इज गोइंग टू बी अराउंड GK सेक्शन ओनली. सो आदित्य सर है हमारे साथ. तो सर GK का मुझे ना आई वांट दिस टू बी इन पार्ट्स. नंबर 1 इज GK कैसे करना चाहिए, क्या करना चाहिए. देन इफ यू कैन पिक अप अ फ्यू क्वेश्चन ऑफ GK जो एग्जाम में आ चुके हैं, ठीक है, GK का एनालिसिस अगर आप दे सकते हो, एंड देन टेल देम हाउ दे कैन प्रिपेयर फॉर GK.
Sure, definitely I'll cover that all.
And you can take up that question as well as you go along.
So can I start?
Yeah, please start.
Okay, so good evening everyone. So first we'll start with how GK, GK being the main factor. I know it's a make or break section for you to get into your dream college. For me, it was definitely was like either you kill the GK, then only you get into JBMS. Otherwise, you stand in the low colleges, which you already can get through any of the exams. So now during that time, GK was the only section, but now it's two sections, GK and entrepreneurship as well, which is new for everyone and it is not repeated in any other B school examinations or you can say the entrance examination or anything. But okay, Mohammed, no issues. So if anyone has koi bhi concern hota hai, please raise it. Like if you want in Hindi, I can switch to Hindi. If you want me to do only in English, I'll switch to English. That's not an issue, but I'll do a mix as one of the candidates had said. So GK midway भी एक total nightmare था. As I said in my last lecture, last workshop video as well, that in the second day I had given my CMAT because in the first year even I was taken aback by GK section. मैं उतना quite confident नहीं था कि मैं GK पढ़ूंगा कैसे. So I thought कि CMAT नहीं crack हो पाएगा. But in the second year, since it was my almost do or die situation, so मैंने CMAT के लिए plunge ले लिया and I started to prepare for GK. And honestly speaking, while the entire preparation at the very beginning, you feel like GK is very difficult. How would you memorize all of those things and so on and so forth? But actually, when you get into it, when you find that rationale and how the question paper is set and all of those things, then you will find GK very interesting. And you'll find a way to understand all of the concepts with limited resources. It's not necessary कि तुम वो 1000-2000 pages वाले books पढ़ो और history के पूरे GK topics पढ़ो. Definitely, it is not required. There is a link through which you can crack the GK section. But you have to just analyze the past year's papers and understand what kind of link is repeated and how the question paper is generally set. So that is how I started. So talking about my preparation, how I usually did was as far as I remember, my CMAT exam was in the month of March 2021 and I had started in the month of November 2020. I know you guys have a very less amount of time left, but many of you might have started prior as well and some of you might be starting now. It's not an issue, like 1 month also I can say, but you would have to put in much extra efforts when compared to others. But 1 month is also quite enough to prepare for the GK if you do it methodically and with a proper strategy. If you do it, then it would be completely suffice. Then it won't be an issue. So how I did it was, as I said, so I'll have a presentation ready for you where I've written down what all sources I used to prepare, how I used to prepare, then what was the time which I used to devote and all of those things. So I'll just share it. Can someone just say that, can you see my screen by unmuting yourself or typing in the chat box? Okay, that's great. Okay, so today, yes, Kajal, thanks. So today we'll be totally talking about general knowledge, how I used to prepare for it. It would be the entire session is going to be only GK. So how I used to prepare, what all sources I used, what time I used to devote, what was my strategy while giving the actual exams, while giving the mocks, all of those things I'll complete, tell you, I can answer your questions as well. So what I'll do is first I'll explain what my strategy was, how I used to go forward with it. And later on, we can have a Q&A session and understand what can be done better or what are the better ways of preparing through it. Because there is a lot of things which I've learned through the peers who are studying with me at JVMS currently. So I've exchanged knowledge with them and I got to know some tips from them as well, like how they used to prepare for GK when they were appearing for CMAT. So I'll discuss with you with that as well. So firstly, solely talking about where do I start from? ये सबसे बड़ा क्वेश्चन था मेरे दिमाग में when I was starting from GK, because it's a very big ocean. कहाँ से start करूँ, कैसे start करूँ, which topic to pick up. There's a lot of videos through classes. There are a lot of videos on YouTube. There are a lot of reading material. But where do I start from? What is a very good source to start from? So what I used to do is, I particularly started was first assimilating. Then I used to analyze. Then I used to do it. Just a second, there's a mistake in between. But what I used to do is, first I assimilated all the past year's papers, which are 8 to 9 years of paper. I, as far as I remember, I went down to 2015 or so. 2015, 2014, I went down to those papers, and then I collected all of those papers for both the sections, and how many sections ever were there. So for different days there were, I guess, I don't remember properly, but in 2014 or 2015 there were 3 different days, or there were different days on which CMAT had happened. So there was a lot of resources available for you in terms of papers. So I collected all of those papers. Then I analyzed them. First, I understood what were the domain of the questions. Like it was from polity, it was from history, it was from geography, it was from coins, it was based on currency, it was based on actors, Bollywood, Hollywood, or anything, basically anything. I'll just show later in the further slides how I used to write it down as well. Then there was a separate topic of static or current, because I could see a division that 60:40 ratio it used to happen, wherein 60% was related to static and 40% was related to current. So that was till my time. I don't know if it has changed for further years as well, but I did find a trend from analyzing the past year's paper that mostly it is roughly 60 to 40%. Somewhere it is 8:2, somewhere it is to 5:5, but on an average it used to be 6:6. So the face, I guess there's an error over here, but what I used to do is after analyzing them, I used to collate all of them in a particular Excel sheet. In that Excel sheet, I used to have all the years in front of my eyes in one particular sheet. So it becomes very important for me and to analyze. Like this has been the change from this year to this year. Okay, in these 2 sections, these were the things which were common. And the next year as well, there wasn't not much change, but 2 or 3 years after, the same set of questions were asked. Like I remember in 2015, there was a year, I guess for example, 2015 is 1 year, and in 2017, the same set of questions were asked. This is just a hypothetical question. I don't remember the exact year. But for example, there were 3 polity questions. There were 2 questions based on currency. There were 3 questions based on dance forms or anything like that. And the same set of questions were asked, not the same question, but the same domain of question were asked 2 or 3 years down the line. So it is very necessary for you to analyze like, so you form a trend. So if you see a particular trend forming, then you can continue for this year as well. Then you can have a fair bit of idea like how it is going to be for this particular year. Now, once you have jotted down the sheet and you got a bigger understanding, now you can begin your preparation. Like this was the first step to start with your preparation. Some people might have done already by doing it, like you might have started earlier as well in the month of December, Jan or something. Or maybe some people might be starting right now. So no need to worry. First is basically this thing. Take 2 days, sit down with all the papers, analyze them, understand like what type of questions are being asked. And then when you have analyzed them, you can go ahead and begin with your preparation with what resources and what material to go forward with. So this is how I used to prepare. So for example, you can see for different years, there are different domains written on the left-hand side. And on the top right, the different years has been written. So for polity in this particular year, there were 6 question asked, and in the next year there were 5 questions, then 1, 2, 2, 3, and so on and so forth. And these were the domains, the different domains which I found common across all the papers. So there might be some miscellaneous as well. So you can form a miscellaneous tab in between or at the very end, and तुम उसमें लिख सकते हो कि किसमें कितना पूछा था. But if you want to detail में लिखना है, तुम detail में भी लिख सकते हो. That's not big enough an issue. The more detail you go, it is better for you to understand. So this is the best detail I could go into, because the mentor which I had and the classes which I had enrolled in, they had given me like these were the main important topics which were common across the years in the past 8 to 9 years. So I was focusing much on these questions only, and miscellaneous was something which depends on my fate. तो अगर आया तो आया, मेरे उस पर्टिकुलर डोमेन में नहीं आया तो नहीं आया, बट अगर बाकी सब भी कर लिया, then it is more than enough. वो miscellaneous Well, you can see and on an average, it is roughly 2 or 3 questions only. So you can take a bet on these 2 or 3 questions. Like this, now this is how I used to define. Just a second. Yeah. So this is how I used to define every question. For example, 21, 22 के paper में topic was science. There was a particular keyword which is copper alloy. Now, how this what was the question? So alloy, what are the uses of the alloy and what are the components used into it? So now you first like this is what I had followed. You can form in more tabs as well. So one domain is necessary. Then what is the particular keyword? Now understanding the keyword is very important. That it is not necessary कि एक ही keyword हो. There can be multiple keywords as well. The keywords are the main words through which a particular question is formed. Now this keyword comes where into picture. I'll tell you later on in the presentation. But the main format is you have to write the keyword. And what was the question about? Gandhi ji के उसके important books के बारे में पूछा गया था. And the next column would be it is a static question or a current affairs question. So at the end for that particular year, you will understand कि कितने static पूछे गए थे and कितने current affairs पूछे गए थे. Now on the next question, you can see like the next question was on quality. So quality में 371A Act के ऊपर पूछा गया था and important articles of this constitution के ऊपर ही question था. Now कोई question होंगे you won't understand ये current affairs था ये static था. So just leave it blank. It is not necessary तुमको हर बार पता चलेगा. But since if you are adept with the last year's happening तो तुमको समझ में आ जाएगा. या उस टाइम के प्रीवियस जगह उतना पता नहीं चलेगा. But if someone has any other resources तो उससे पता चलता है तो it's quite useful because I used to prepare this along with my pool of friends. So हम लोग साथ में बैठ के prepare करते थे. So multiple people had multiple knowledge and उसके basis पे we used to write like this is from current affairs or this was from static. So you can form a group or you can do it individually as well. So for the past 2 or 3 years, you would be able to understand whether it is from a current affair topic or a static topic. But if you see, like these are the main particular columns which you have to prepare. First is the domain, then the next is the keyword. What was the main keyword of that particular question? And the next is what is the main part of like what was the question about? तो उससे तुमको better understanding आएगा कि question कैसे frame कर रहे हैं, उसमें क्या पूछ रहे हैं उस बारे में. So if this is a very small, like I remember my Excel sheet was very huge in terms of length. तो इतने सारे questions करोगे तो you'll find a topic linkage. एक link के ऊपर ही या something उसके ऊपर ही they are asking certain questions, and this is how it is framed out. So I'll tell like what I used to find after analysis. So this is what the important domains which I found out and what I got to know from my mentor and my friends as well. Like this were the important things from majorly where the questions were asked for. Like roughly 70 to 80% of the questions are covered in these topics only. And I think this is predominant now as well. अभी भी politics, science, economics, geography, technology, Asian history, arts and sports around the key questions पूछे जाते हैं. I know like इसमें तो पूरा history cover ही हो गया है. But if you can understand more, like for example, as I said, I'll explain my detailed analysis. Like मैं कैसे questions form करता था. So whatever questions I used to form, I used to be around these particular topics only. मैं और in depth नहीं जाता था या उसके against और नहीं पढ़ता था. So this is how I used to prepare, and these were the important domains which I found out after analyzing all the question papers from all the years. And I found that 70 to 80% of the questions were around these topics only. Now, the next important question is, where do I study from? Like, I got to understand कि ये particular topic से पूछना है या ये particular questions आ रहे हैं, but इसके बारे में पढ़ूँ कहाँ से? So the study material which I used for were the classes material first of all. Sorry for the animation, I forgot to remove it. But the classes material, first one being if you are enrolled for CETking, so you can use the CETking GK materials, their handouts, books or worksheets. You can use them for your pursuit. Then the next is PDFs. Like I used to refer the GK compendiums which are available online, topic specific like politics or ancient history, arts or anything, and then newspapers that for just to keep myself adept with the current happenings. And then there are several YouTube channels as well. YouTube channels were additional resources for me. more I used to relate more to with the classes material which were given to me. And if I found it too boring to read to the videos were totally done, then I used to refer to certain YouTube channels. And in YouTube channels also, I used to specifically relate more to the UPSC channels because they used to provide in-depth knowledge about particular topic. फॉर एग्जाम्पल कोई एक टॉपिक वो लोग ले रहे हैं तो उसके बाद में इन डेप्थ उनके लाइक एंशियंट हिस्ट्री आर्किटेक्चर पॉलिटिक्स उन सबके बारे में सब वो पूरा बता देते थे सो नॉर्मल एमबीए चैनल्स का प्रॉब्लम ये होता था दे यूज्ड टू बी वेरी शॉर्ट एंड बहुत प्रिसाइज और बहुत ही कम डेटा वो लोग देते थे बट इफ वो यूपीएससी से जा रहे हैं ना सिंस दे आर प्रिपेयरिंग फॉर यूपीएससी सो उनको बहुत कुछ जानना होता है बट अपने को उतना इन डिटेल जानने की जरूरत नहीं है बट इट हेल्प्स यू टू वाइडन योर रिसोर्सेज तुमको जो नॉलेज है वो ज्यादा पता चलता है उसके थ्रू तो फिर नो डाउट इट नो वे रिलेटेड टू सो फिर वो लोग क्या करते हैं आई रिमेम्बर लाइक देयर इज आई फॉरगॉट द नेम ऑफ द यूट्यूब चैनल बट वो लोग ये करते थे कि कोई भी टॉपिक से पढ़ते थे तो फिर दे यूज्ड टू लिंक विद सर्टेन अदर थिंग्स एज वेल so for example they are talking about A so that A is how linked to B तो वो A और B like B is nowhere mentioned in the topic या वो कहीं भी related नहीं है but while talking they come to know कि इसी बहाने उसका revision हो जाता था so they used to say that how A is B linked to B and B is how linked to C so इसी बहाने like we used to get to know other things as well and अपना ही like resources बढ़ रहा है like we get to know more and more things so our knowledge is getting improved and video is a better form of contact format basically to understand things and थोड़ा response रहता है उसमें we used to while reading becomes a bit boring so I used to relate more to video content because the way they teach and the more you understand basically the you are listening you are making your own notes and so if you make your own notes, it becomes more important. For example, like जो भी मैं कुछ भी पढ़ता था देखता था वीडियो फॉर्म में उसमें तो I used to write down it on my piece of paper और basically I had a GK book of myself. A big thick GK book बन गई थी at the very end. So उसमें मैं more and more लिखते ही जाता था whatever I used to see in the videos कुछ भी अगर वो linked भी नहीं है उस particular topic से still I used to write it. Because at the end of the day or every alternate day I used to revise or every Sundays as well, which I'll say further, but that used to help me to revise more and more things. So I'll वो भी बताऊंगा मैं आगे जाके कि how I used to write down all the resources over there. Then the books, there's a common book which is Lucent GK, but I rarely used to look at it because it was a very thick book and उसको refer करना उसके बाद में उसका पूरा पढ़ना it was very boring and tedious for me. So yes, for one or two topics I'd refer to it, otherwise not. But there are several friends of mine who are currently in JBMS, but they used to do it from Lucent GK and they found it very beneficial. So I particularly didn't use it much, but there are other people as well who used to use Lucent GK and they found it beneficial. So if you're a person who can read much, then Lucent GK is a good book for you to go with. Okay, so moving further to how to prepare like books भी देख लिया अभी क्या पढ़ना है वो भी पता चल गया but इसको how do I used to prepare so in the initial few months as I said I started in the month of November so I used to devote around 3 to 4 hours a day and then as and when I proceeded more towards the exam day the D-day I used to devote 4 to 5 hours a day in the last few months and 60% as I said was consumed while in the online videos and 30% in reading and 10% in revision. So friends, it's very important for to revise each and every day because हर दिन तुम अपने notes तो बनाते जा रहे हो but जो पहले लिखा था वो याद रखना is very important and वो याद रखना is very difficult because तुम एक दिन कर लोगे 2 दिन कर लोगे 3 दिन कर लोगे but when that increases over the month तो फिर वो उसको retain करना becomes very difficult. So out of these 3 to 4 hours every day, I used to devote 10% just to quickly revise. कि मैं पहले क्या पढ़ा था like it's not necessary to do it in 3 to 4 hours as well. So while you are traveling, while you are doing anything, while you are walking or anything, you are doing any other course of your day, you can revise it as and when you are comfortable. Because I found मेरे को 3 से 4 घंटा I used to devote solely for learning new things. And this 10% of this revision I used to do while I was traveling. You won't believe when I used to bathe. I used to revise all the things like what I did earlier. Just ऊपर से कि ये topics हैं and ये topics से ये related था. That's it. That is how I used to remember it. No need to go in detail, but ऊपर से याद रखा, that is more important, because if you don't revise it regularly, then it would become very difficult to retain that particular information. So what I used to do is I used to like पहले analyze किया papers को, वो papers में से पता चला this particular topic is more important. Then I used to search for it on the YouTube channel, or if there is provided by your this coaching classes, then you can use that videos as well. Then I used to watch them, उसके notes बनाता था मैं, notes लिखता था, like exhaustive list बन जाता, because वो बोलते बहुत कुछ सारा है, so you have to keep down noting it down. So वो सब मैं लिखता रहता था, and then 30% I used to devote to reading as well. Like there is a separate compendium given to us by the coaching classes. So since they have analyzed the past year's papers and they know much better than us, and उनको पता है like what type of questions are asked over the years and what can be asked this year as well. So we need to respect them as well. So I used to refer to their PDF as well. And somewhere, yes, I would agree that their PDF also helped me on the T-Day. Some questions, not all, but a few questions were asked from that compendium as well. So I can't particularly neglect the entire compendium or the resources provided by the coaching material. That is also equally important. But I used to devote more on the video content, because उससे ज़्यादा मुझे more relate करने को होता था. So 30%, as I said, वो उसको I used to devote to reading to them material, and then 10% I used to end the day while revising it, and that's it. तो उसमें मेरा over the years, over the months करते करते I had prepared a very good exhaustive number of questions. मेरे खुद के ही questions इतने सारे हो गए थे. So I'll say like at the very end of this presentation, I'll say like मैंने क्या वो analyze करके what I have found it. So उससे मेरे को easy रहा कि मेरे को क्या particularly पढ़ना है, मुझे वो पता चला. But I just complete this. I'll just move fast to this, and then I'll move to the main part. So how we used to prepare for this particular GK section? First is a well-maintained journal or a book. So keep your own notes. वो लिखते जाओ, लिखते जाओ. I know it becomes very irritating to write all those things, but trust me for the fact it works for me. That when I write particular thing or कुछ भी एक sentence लिखता था, when I speak while writing to it, so it helps me to store much in a much better way in my mind. Otherwise, if I'm just reciting it or I'm just learning it, then वो मेरे से उतना अच्छे से नहीं होता था. But when I used to write it while speaking it as well, so वो मेरे माइंड में और बेटर वे से स्टोर हो जाता था, एंड कहीं ना कहीं वो मेरे सबकॉन्शियस माइंड में हो जाता था, और रादर देन व्हेन कंपेयर टू मैं सिर्फ बोल रहा हूँ या मैं सिर्फ रट्टा मार रहा हूँ, उससे बेटर आई यूज्ड टू फील दैट वो लिखने से मेरे को ज्यादा बेटर याद रहता है. So for every day, I used to maintain a notebook, and like this one particular notebook, every day I used to fill in into it. Then I used to practice a lot through daily tests, sectional tests, and mocks. Like कितना like there's no end to it. कितना videos देखोगे, कितना books से पढ़ोगे, कितना करोगे, that खत्म ही नहीं होने वाला history कभी. So you need to prepare through daily tests and sectional tests as well. So what I used to do is first of all, मेरे खुद के coaching classes के mocks तो available थे ही मेरे पास, and the test series were also available. But since we all know that there are n number of coaching classes available online, and उनके खुद के daily tests and sectional tests are available for free. So I used to enroll for all of them. I used to give the free test and the mocks as well, just to understand कि उनका GK section क्या है, what type of questions are they asking, and वो एक additional pool of resource मेरे पास बन जाता था. And this would be a qualitative resource, because these coaching classes know much better than us, and they are preparing their students for the next year as well. So उनके resources, उनके questions मैं उनको अलग से एक notebook में लिखता था, because they used to be very most important for me. क्योंकि they are preparing for the next years, and उन्होंने कुछ analysis करके वो particular question उस mock में डाला है. So I used to just open the mock, just go on to the GK section, give it a try, and उसमें वो GK section में जो questions होते थे वो उसको एक बार attempt कर देता था, and I used to just submit the mock, and that's it. मैं बाकी 3 sections को हाथ भी नहीं लगाता था. Just to get an understanding of what the GK questions are, I used to give the text, the sectional test, and the mocks as well. So उससे मेरा एक additional source of resource बन गया, and then I used to revise it every day, and I used to keep revising it on an individual, and exchange my knowledge with my peers, the group as well. So मेरा एक group बन चुका था already, the CMAT preparation, which we used to prepare for while I was preparing for with the coaching classes. So we used to exchange the knowledge what we learned yesterday, या कोई test देने के बाद कुछ specific type of question we came across with. So what happens is when you exchange the knowledge, you multifold your knowledge. This is a common saying. So उन लोग you exchange your knowledge, तुम उनको बताते हो कि तुमने क्या पढ़ा, and in return वो कुछ बताते तुमको something important they share with us. I know it's quite competitive now, and at my time as well, but my group was such that we used to exchange the knowledge a lot. So हम exchange करते थे knowledge. They used to help me certain resources या कोई specific notes they have prepared with. And when you teach or explain to someone, then it subconsciously gets stored in your mind. फिर उसको तुम उनको ज़्यादा revise करने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. So I used to make them understand what particular concept it was and how it used to impact that thing. All in detail पूरा notes मेरा share कर देता था, उनको समझाता था. तो indirectly मैं मेरा खुद का revision भी कराता था और उनको सिखाने के बदले में मेरे को वो easily store भी हो जाता था. So it was a benefit for me only. So this is how I used to prepare it. So first is notes, and then I used to practice a lot, and then I used to keep revising it, and exchanging with my notes with my friends, and उनके साथ बैठ के थोड़े एक दो questions we used to ask each other. So just to make it interactive, because just watching the videos and learning it from the notebooks would be very boring. So how many questions do I need to attempt? So what I used to do it in the mocks was, and it became consistent in on the D-Day as well. So there would be only 40 to 50 questions you'll be sure about, like how much ever you are prepared of, and I think like unless you are an UPSC aspirant, तुम all 20 questions so for sure कर ही नहीं पाओगे, and there would be 10 to 12 questions which you would be sure of at max, because पूरा history cover करना थोड़ा difficult हो जाता है. So there would be 40 to 50% questions which you will be extremely sure of, and I think like if you have done the preparation well and इतना तुम कर लोगे, and then 40 to 50% would be your educated guesses. उस 40-50% में how this educated guesses work, like I had explained in the just again. Okay. Yeah, I'll take the chats later on. Once I'm done with this, I'll answer your questions and I'll take the chats as well. So what I used to do is, so for at my time, I don't remember the number of questions as well. I guess it was 25 or something. Now it has reduced down to 20 because of the new section. So I'll say with the new section, for example, if I'm appearing for the D-Day, what my strategy would be. So 20 questions, and it can be replicated in the mocks as well. So 20 questions, maybe 10 questions मुझे आने चाहिए. I know in the initial few days it would be very difficult. Like in the first mock which I had given, I remember out of those 25 questions, hardly मेरे को 5 या 6 questions आते थे. So which is roughly very less number. Like I don't want to quote in percentage as well. So उतना कम मेरे को like 10-15 odd percentage उतना ही मेरे को आता था. And I didn't take the plunge of marking tukkas for the rest of the questions as well, because मैं negative में जा सकता था, because the educated guesses वाला pool was very high. But since मैं ज़्यादा mocks देता गया, मैं test series देता गया, मैं mocks sectional test देता गया, so मेरा scope of knowledge बढ़ता गया, and I started to get to know like more and more questions, what type of questions are being asked, and over the course of months, मेरा knowledge pool expand हो गया. And in the last few mocks, I remember, and the test as well, like I was able to solve 8 to 10 questions out of 25 or maybe 12 or 25, I said 12. But if I'm assuming 20 questions to be, then I would say 8 to 10 questions मेरे को short आ जाएंगे. I would be sure about that. Then the remaining 10 questions are to be answered. Now, it very like for a person, like I was very sure that I wanted to get into JBMS or Sydenham only. I didn't wanted to go into any other B school. So अगर मैं 8 to 10 questions ही करके जा रहा हूँ, and अगर सबके सब right भी हो गए, then how much it is? 40 marks. 40 marks out of 80 marks, it would be 50% only. So percentile उतना अच्छा आएगा ही नहीं. So I was, अगर मैं नहीं मतलब खाली 8 to 10 questions किया तो मेरा JB जाना तो impossible होगा. So it is very important for me to answer the rest of the questions as well. अगर तो if you're a normal aspirant who wants to go who want like any other B school as well, then you should be only marking the short answers. But if you're a person who wants to go only into JBMS or Sydenham, then it is very important for you to make an educated guess. What do I mean by educated guess? Yes, educated guess means tukka only, but not tukka as in random fluke. So there is 4 options given to you. Now, in these remaining 10 questions, you have to play on the game of probability. Like probability, we have all learned in the quant section. So 10 questions may say, like we have to eliminate 2 options. It is very important for like questions only where you will be eliminate only one question, one option, but that's okay. But try eliminating 2 options. So what after that you have eliminated 2 options, the probability becomes 50-50. Either it will be right or it will be wrong. Now 10 questions are remaining. Now calculate the probability. Not necessarily 10 is to 10. Questions would be remaining. Depending on the number of questions which is remaining, it may be more or it may be less as well. But if the number of questions for to mark the educated guess is high, for example, 15 out of 20, then I won't recommend ki tukka maro se, because the chances for you to getting into negative marks would be much higher. But if you have 10 questions or 8 questions left for a random guess, then I would say you should go ahead with it, because at majority of the times, the chances are that you will fall into positive marks and तुमको additional 4-5 marks free के मिल जाएंगे. Like used to happen for me 90% of the time. I used to land in positive marks, and the rest 10% of the time, because of the educated guess, I used to land in negative marks. But majority of the time, I was ranging in positive, and this educated guess helped me to gain additional 5, 6, or something more, such kind of marks basically. So if you are left with 2 options for the remaining 10 questions, so bindas maar do, aankh band karke, if you feel is the right option, go ahead with it, and just try it in mocks if, whether it works for you or not, and just see, like it most probably it would work into a positive side only. And there might be some questions where you can't eliminate any of the given options, so you keep it unanswered because you don't want to face the -1 marking. So only if you are able to eliminate some of the other options, then eliminate it. Go ahead. Like 2 options are left. Randomly mark one answer and move ahead. And around this 10 or maybe 12 questions you will be remaining with. So majority times it happens like you have the probability of 1/2. So roundabout, I would say worst to worst case scenario, 4 questions would be right out of those 10, which is good enough for you to land into positive marks. So this is how I used to do for the mocks, and on the D-Day itself, I don't remember, but around, I would say, I don't remember exactly, but yes, I wasn't able to solve the entire question paper despite of studying so well and doing so hard training. But yes, so around half of the paper I was able to solve it properly with my knowledge, but for the remaining I had to go for the random tukka. Like I eliminated some of the 2 options, or maybe for some question I was able to eliminate only one option. But I did one random guess, and I made sure, like for example, A, B, C, D is there, and for majority A is available as an option for me. Then I used to do only A, and for all the questions. I used to make it consistent. But for some question, if you are eliminating the option A, then go ahead with B, C, D, or anything which suits you. Like you feel you have the inner calling that that particular question is right, or the answer option is right. But I used to try to keep it as consistent as possible, like marking A across all the questions of B for educated guesses. That's it. There was no question for me which was left unanswered. I attempted all the questions on the D-Day because I had a very less number of pool of questions available for me for educated guesses. So I have marked them all. But if you have a bigger pool of questions available which is unanswered, or which you are not quite sure of, then only mark those answers for Tukka where you feel you have eliminated some questions, and where you haven't eliminated any of the options, keep it unanswered. In the long run, it would help you. Okay, so this is how I prepared particularly, and I'll just tell what particular analysis I done and what I particularly found. But this was all how I used to prepare for the GK section, and what all sources which I use, and how I prepared all for the 3 or 4 months for GK. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. This is my LinkedIn ID, and this is my mobile number as well. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp if you have any particular question or query, or you want any assistance regarding one particular question. You can reach out to me on WhatsApp, and I'll be more than happy to help you. because even I want to find you as a junior in at my college, which is JBMS. So just this particular week, like this week which is coming, I'll be a bit busy. I'm not be able to reply back to your text. But later on, as and when I get time, I'll try to reply back to you and help you in the best possible way I can. Okay, so this is how I used to prepare. Now, talking about the specific finding, I had discussed in brief about in the last workshop video as well, but I'll reiterate it. So, one particular finding which I found in while I did the analysis for the last year till 2015 was a what? How do I put it? There was a string of questions, or the questions were related to some of the topics of current affairs. So as I said last time as well, like if you are the question paper, you even understand the students will not be able to memorize all the questions from the past year. Like history इतना बड़ा है, तुम कितना तक पढ़ोगे, कितना geography पढ़ोगे, कितना poems पढ़ोगे, कितना literature पढ़ोगे. मतलब it's not possible for you to understand all of those things. Even it is not possible for a UPSC aspirant. तुम तो नॉर्मल CMAT दे रहे हो, तो कुछ तो एक बात होगी कि वो कैसे क्वेश्चंस डालते हैं, कुछ तो एक रिलेशन होगा कि दिस टाइप ऑफ पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन इज ओनली चोजन, ये पर्टिकुलर क्वेश्चन ही क्यों चूज किया, मतलब कोई तो एक रैशनल होगा, राइट. तो फिर मैंने वो एनालाइज करते हुए मेरे को एक चीज पता चला कि लाइक व्हाट ऑल क्वेश्चंस आर पुट इन द पेपर आर समवेयर रिलेटेड टू करंट अफेयर्स, इफ नॉट ऑल फ्रॉम दैट 20 at least 15 questions. 15 questions would be such that would be related to current affairs. So there was a common saying when I used to prepare that CMAT always asks static questions. It is more related towards static rather than normal current affairs. But I would say it is not entirely true. Like GK is more of a current affairs question, but it comes with a twist. So, for example, what do I say? Like current happenings that happened last year, like the example which I had taken last time as well, the Russia-Ukraine war, which has been happening for 2 years. So there's a high probability of a question being asked to Russia from the important topics. There was a slide I talked about the important topics such as literature, politics, sports, or anything like that. So 7 to 8 topics मैंने find out कर लिए थे कि इसी में से question पूछे जाते हैं. Now it's my job to prepare on those 7 topics pertaining to Russia. अब मैं रशिया के ऊपर पढ़ने लगूंगा तो मैं पूरा रशिया के बारे में तो पढ़ नहीं सकता, लाइक वो भी अलग से एक पूरा सब्जेक्ट ही है, तो उसमें से में भी मेरे को कितना पढ़ना चाहिए, तो उसमें से भी रशिया से भी आई स्पेसिफिकली लर्न अबाउट ओनली दो 7 to 8 टॉपिक्स, लाइक पॉलिटिक्स हो गया, उसका हिस्ट्री हो गया, उसके स्पोर्ट्स के बारे में हो गया, उसने कोई मेडल्स और जीते या कुछ भी जीता हो उसके बारे में तो हो गया, उसका कोई रिसेंट हैपनिंग हुआ है विच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट या कोई इंटरसेंशियल, सो आई लर्न अबाउट दैट. So वैसे वैसे मैं पढ़ते जाता था. Now more I used to learn about that. For example, I just used to search it on YouTube, such as Russia important current affairs or Russia important static GK information. So a hell lot of videos used to come onto the YouTube channel. And एक specific YouTube channel था like for the UPSC aspirants. So उनमें वो रशिया के बारे में पूरा ही बता देते थे. Like what all important things were there. तो फिर उसके बारे में पूरा इंडिया तो एक वीडियो में मेरे को पूरा हो गया. So that is why I used to prepare more through the UPSC videos. So this is the main link I was talking about. Like it is kuch to ek particular, like for you guys I would recommend is current affairs till the year of 2022 Jan. Like keep steps for yourself. Like first 2 months ka pehle kar liya. Like January, February of this year, I have completed the current affairs. You linked in to with all the topics, all the current affairs ke main jo keywords hai. Uske through you have linked in the past, and फिर उसके बाद में you go back to 2022 and then you set the target of completing it till August, and August तक कर लिया उसके सारे current affairs के में static में चलेगा. I know it goes very deep into because हर question में एक new keyword मिलेगा. अब उस keyword के बारे में तुम कितना करोगे, and going up till August 2022 कितने सारे keywords मिल जाएंगे. But somewhere down the line when you prepare multiple questions, when you prepare multiple what do you say thoughts, फिर उसके बाद में देखो they are somewhere interlinked to each other. So तुम अगस्त का कुछ करंट अफेयर कर रहे होगे तो you'll find it that is somewhere related to January अभी वाला 2023 का. So not much to repeat, but just in the initial few months you'll find a lot of things to prepare on. But once you go backwards तो फिर उसमें कहीं ना कहीं interlinked होता है and you find it interesting basically. So what I used to, how to make it interesting, I particularly used to frame questions for myself. Like if I were the paper setter for CMAT 2023, then how will I set the questions? Like what all important questions are there I find to be put into the question paper. So wo mindsets I used to prepare. And when you analyze the past year's paper, like till 2015, which is roughly 8 years or something, 7, 8 years, so फिर you get an understanding कि क्या टाइप के क्वेश्चन पूछे जाते हैं, क्या टाइप के क्वेश्चंस नहीं पूछे जाते हैं. बिकॉज तुम पढ़ने जाओगे तो बहुत कुछ पढ़ोगे, बट एक सेंस ऑफ माइंड होना चाहिए कि ऐसा क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, ऐसा क्वेश्चन नहीं आ सकता है. सो सिंस आई हैड गॉन थ्रू अ लॉट ऑफ क्वेश्चंस टिल 2015, तो मुझे क्वाइट अंडरस्टैंडिंग आ गया था कि ये टाइप के क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है, ये टाइप का क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछा जा सकता है. सो व्हेन आई यूज्ड टू वॉच वीडियोज या कुछ भी उस बारे में, मैं करंट अफेयर के टॉपिक के बारे में स्टार्टिंग में मैं कुछ पढ़ता था, तो फिर मेरे को समझ में आ जाता था कि हाँ ये टाइप का क्वेश्चन पूछा जा सकता है बिकॉज इट अलाइंस विद सीमैट का टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन, एंड दिस टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस इज आइदर टू हाई फॉर सीमैट और इट्स टू लो फॉर सीमैट. तो अगर वो एक लेवल, एक बेंच ऑफ आइडिया मैंने सेट कर लिया था खुद के लिए कि सीमैट ऐसे टाइप के क्वेश्चन पूछता है, तो फिर वो मैंने एक बार प्रिपेयर कर लिया, तो एक तुमको एक सेंस ऑफ माइंड में मिल जाता है कि हाँ, तो तुम्हारा वो लिमिट हो जाता है रिसोर्सेज कि मेरे को इतने टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन ही पढ़ने हैं, या दीज आर द पूल ऑफ रिसोर्सेज आई हैव टू रिवाइज. So once you analyze, that is why the analyzing the part of the question paper is very important. Like तुम past years के paper analyze करो, उसको समझो, so you'll get a better understanding. Not only like what type of questions are asked, what domains of questions are asked, and what are the number of questions. Like हर time sports में इतना पूछा जाता है, इसमें every year कितना change हो रहा है, and every year sports पे तो question आ ही रहा है, which means this year you have to focus more on sports or literature or whatever that topic would be. So मैंने उस टाइम वो जैसे वो important topics का बताया, तो फिर वो 7 to 8 topics मैंने prepare कर लिए थे, एंड कुछ भी मैं current affairs का topic या keyword I used to prepare for static, तो फिर वो 7-8 topics तो मैं cover करता ही था, if not everything else, but ये 7-8 तो मैं properly cover करता ही था. And I just used to keep covering it until I found it exhausting. लाइक कि अभी ये बहुत हो गया, लाइक इससे ज्यादा मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा या इससे ज्यादा मैं ज्यादा रिटेन नहीं कर पाऊंगा, तो आई यूज्ड टू स्टॉप इट ओवर देयर बिकॉज उसका कोई एंड ही नहीं होगा, राइट. तुम हिस्ट्री में एक लाइक रशिया की हिस्ट्री में तुम बहुत कुछ लिख सकते हो, बट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड कि मतलब क्या टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस पूछे जा सकते हैं क्या नहीं, एंड टिल द फाइंड यू फाइंड इट एग्जॉस्टिंग. तब तक मैं वो प्रिपेयर कर लेता था, एंड ओवर द कोर्स ऑफ मंथ्स इट यूज्ड टू रिपीट. सिंस इट यूज्ड टू रिपीट, तो फिर वो कहीं ना कहीं इंटरलिंक हो जाता था, एंड आई यूज्ड टू गेट इट दैट. सो दिस इज द मेन पार्ट कि करंट अफेयर्स से ही क्वेश्चंस रिलेटेड होते हैं इन द स्टैटिक. लाइक 40% ऑफ द क्वेश्चंस विल बी रिलेटेड टू करंट अफेयर्स ओनली, कि लाइक रिसेंट हैपनिंग्स में से ही कुछ पूछ लिया विच आर वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और इट कैन बी ऑफ लेस सिग्निफिकेंस एज वेल, बट इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट. तो फिर सीमैट प्लेज अ ट्रिकी रोल ओवर हियर बिकॉज कुछ एकदम ही इंपॉर्टेंट हैपनिंग होगा तो वो तो सब पढ़ेंगे, बट समथिंग विच हैज हैपेंड बट सबका अटेंशन उस पर नहीं गया है, and but still it is important, then CMAT will ask that question because सब candidates ने उसके बारे में पढ़ा नहीं रहेगा. So they are asking a question from the current affairs, but it is not that prevalent in the market or amongst the students. तो फिर उन्होंने current affairs से पूछ भी लिया, but ऐसा question पूछा जो सबको पता ही नहीं था, तो फिर वो tricky part कभी कभी CMAT भी play करता है. इसलिए it's very important to do the current affairs of every month. तो फिर वो कर लिया, तो फिर तुम वो 40% में तो थोड़ा सिक्योर हो जाओगे, एंड द रिमेनिंग वो करंट अफेयर्स के नोट्स बनाए. तो हाईलाइट द कीवर्ड्स, वो कीवर्ड्स को मैं हाईलाइट करता था, एंड वो स्टैटिक के जीके पे मैं चल जाता था, पास में चल जाता था, उसके बारे में स्टडी करता था, रिसर्च करता था, वो 7-8 टॉपिक्स पढ़ लिए. तो फिर आई फाउंड इट हैपनिंग इन द मॉक्स, लाइक धीरे धीरे एज एंड व्हेन आई इंक्रीज माय पूल ऑफ नॉलेज, मेरे को पता चला कि इतना पढ़ लिया, फिर उसके बाद में क्वेश्चन स्टार्ट रिपीटिंग, लाइक द काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चन या द आंसर्स कीप रिपीटिंग अक्रॉस डिफरेंट कोचिंग क्लासेस के मॉक्स या टेस्ट सीरीज, because that is the main question which type of question which can be asked. And it happened on the D-Day as well, like some of the questions which had happened to solve in the mocks or in the test series was repeated, like somewhere not quite related, not the exact same question, but uska answer was the same. And additional एक और फायदा I remember of solving mud test series and sectional tests is that it used to help me to eliminate the option on the D-Day. सिंस मैंने इतना सारा सॉल्व कर लिया था, तो फिर आई हैड सॉल्व वन क्वेश्चन इन अ टेस्ट सीरीज, एंड उसका पर्टिकुलर आंसर फॉर एग्जांपल ए था, इट वाज रिलेटेड टू रशिया, बट ऑन द डी डे दे आर आस्किंग सम पर्सन हु इज रिलेटेड टू यूक्रेन. तो फिर तुम, और वही एक ऑप्शन भी दिया हुआ है, सो यू नो बिकॉज वो टेस्ट सीरीज से याद आता है दैट पर्सन वाज रिलेटेड टू रशिया, एंड वही ऑप्शन का नाम, वही पर्सन का नाम इधर यूक्रेन के लिए भी दिया हुआ है, देन इट इज अ कंप्लीट एलिमिनेशन because that person is related to Russia, then how can be he related to Ukraine? So that particular thing helped me to eliminate an option as well. So उसके multiple benefits होते हैं and तुम जितना ज़्यादा दोगे उतने ज़्यादा questions के through you will come across. So this is how I used to prepare, and this is how it helped me, like giving so much of mocks, sectional tests. No, I don't used to give much mocks, but I used to give a lot of sectional tests and daily tests. Mocks, I remember I hardly gave around 4 or 5 mocks. That's it. Okay, so guys, this is how I used to prepare for the GK section specifically. Now you can either unmute yourself or you can write it in the chat box, and I'll try to answer all the questions you have. Okay, so I'll start. So Sufyanali is asking, did GK help in GDPI as well? Yes, somewhere, not much. Zyada to help me kiya. Like coming now, like if you ask me in the current year, I don't remember much of what the GK had prepared during that time. And JB doesn't have the GDPI as well, and I didn't sit for any other GDPI for any other campus as well. So I don't think so. Utna kuch help mein aata bhi hoga, but it is an additional information, so it is better for you. Somewhere or the other, it gets helpful. One thing I remember, like when I got into JB while interacting with my peers and sharing knowledge with them, at that time GK helped. Thoda sa, some topic has come up and then you put in the idea or put in the resources which you had prepared, या कुछ extra information you have, so it helps you to have a conversation with some other people. So that I remember, nothing else. And Aarti, so which topic we should prepare on? Aarti, so if I were in your shoes as of now, so what I would have done is I would have prepared for the current affairs, and वो current affairs में से keywords उठा के 7-8 topics के बारे में मैं वो पढ़ लेता हूँ, like the 7-8 topics. If you want that particular presentation, you can ping me on WhatsApp, so I'll share that presentation as well. That's not an issue with me. And any other doubts or anything assistance you want, you can directly ping me directly on WhatsApp. So this is how you would have prepared. I can't name any particular topic which you can start with, because like abhi I don't know, like current affairs, I do read the newspapers, but if I was preparing for the GK section of CMAT, then it would have been a different perspective. I would have gone in depth. So you have to go in depth of the current affairs and हर उसके बारे में static को लेके relate करो. That's it. Okay. So Pratham is asking, I just attempted my first CMAT mock. I got 26, 260 score million. I also with study materials should have. For the entrepreneurship, Pratham, I had not particularly prepared, because for my year was the last year where no, I had entrepreneurship during my time, but it was optional. So I didn't opt for it, and neither did I study for it. So I don't think I'll be able to help you much on this, but I'll be taking a separate session specifically on entrepreneurship. So usme I'll have a word with the other things, and I'll even look at what in the entrepreneurship, and I'll help you, like watch coaching material or some other material you can refer to. So I'll even have a word in my network as well. So the people who recently got into JBMS to CMAT, so I'll have a word with them as well, and let you guys know like what all resources that they use for entrepreneurship. Summer, like it all depends on what score are you getting from the rest of the sections. Like Quants, LRDI and BRC, you should be targeting full marks, at least 19 out of 20 questions. Then post that 60 out of 80, yes, good enough, I think. So I would say a fairly good thing would be 13 to 14 odd questions would be very good for you to getting into GBMS, because GK is something which not everyone is quite aware of, and they don't prepare for diligently. Because I had interacted with several people who were attending CMAT at my time, so they wanted to go into any random B school, so they didn't prepare for the GK, and they used to mark anything random while answering the questions. So which helps you to lower down the percentile and the cutoff as well. So if you are preparing diligently for GK and the cutoff is lowered because of those type of candidates, then I guess 12 to 13 questions is a good enough benchmark for you to get into GPMs. But be sure like the accuracy, you play well on accuracy. Accuracy plays a very important part. Chairman, I would request you, like, if you could ping me on WhatsApp, I'll share over there. Akshay, I had international research. So there were international researches or a question. You're talking about a question, right, in the presentation while preparing that Excel sheet. Would refer to international research. There was a question on international research and what type of question. So I stood for that. Shubham, as I said, like I didn't refer to Lucent. I just referred for one topic. That too, I know, I remember 2.5 pages. I read just 2.5 pages and dozed off. मैं सो गया था उसके बाद. So मेरे से reading तो होता ही नहीं है बिल्कुल भी. So Lucent GK मैं सिर्फ उतना ही पढ़ता. But the people who are studying currently with me in GPM, they used to prepare from Lucent. So I think if it is beneficial for them, it can be beneficial for you guys as well. So Namrata, I improved my mock score by practicing and sharing my knowledge with my friends and gaining knowledge from them. So I used to give a lot of test series, daily tests, sectional tests. So उससे मेरे को नए type of questions मिलते रहते थे and उस questions के around ही I used to prepare. So एक point of time के बाद मेरे को लगने लगा कि questions are repeating in the test, the sectional test across different coaching classes and so on. So उससे के through मेरे बाद वो mock score थोड़ा improve होना शुरू हो गया. And I used to play on the game of probability as well. So yes, one more thing in the mocks, while you're preparing on not on the D-Day, on the daily test and sectional test, I didn't used to mark random tukka for while giving the sectional test. At that time, I used to just solve the questions which I genuinely know. And then later on, while analyzing that particular test series or that particular test, basically, then I used to eliminate the options and I think like before looking at the actual answer and then calculate the what actual probability will be. Because if I do, like it's all depends on you. I used to follow this strategy, and later on while analyzing, I used to see like if I used to if I'll mark any answer or if I do random educated guesses, then what my final score would be. But the raw score, I used to keep it like that only for a test series or the mocks as well. I used to just mark the educated guesses because it helps me analyze much better. Because each test series, I remember I did an educated guess for all the 25 questions, but later on while analyzing, I didn't remember कि मेरे को ये क्वेश्चन आता था या नहीं आता था, ये रैंडम गेस था या ये एक्चुअल गेस था, आई मीन एक्चुअल आंसर था. So it's better like raw score को उतना ही रखो which you are quite aware of, but while analyzing then you eliminate certain options and then calculate what your actual score would be. Shivani, I referred more to YouTube channels and the book I used to follow was from the coaching material with the compendiums which they had provided and so on and so forth. Only those PDF because अगर मैं जो normal publications की book है वो पढ़ने जाऊँ so they are too heavy and मुझे वो देख के ही मेरे को लेने का मन नहीं करता था, उठाने का ही मन नहीं करता था. So definitely I didn't put my eyes over them. My main concentration was more on the videos and on the PDFs which I used to get. That's it. Which particular? Shivani answered that. Shubham not recommended. Like there's no particular compulsion that Lucent से पढ़ना ही है. तुम नहीं भी पढ़ना चाहते हो तो पढ़ लो. But if you find it relatable and you're you can learn much through it. If you find you are able to do that, then sure, go ahead. सबकी strategy is different. Some people find Lucent very helpful. Some people don't. So it all depends. When you start doing it, then you'll understand. For CMAT and CET together, Shubham, like in the second year, like in my second year of journey of entrance examination, I was preparing for CMAT and CET both together at the same time. So as I said, like 3 to 4 hours or maybe 5 hours only GK and the rest I used to devote only to CET. Because via CET, I used to automatically get prepared for CMAT in terms of LRDI, Quants and English. So not much preparation required on those 3 terms, specifically for CMAT. For CMAT, I used to prepare only for GK, that's it, nothing else. Saman Nayak. So yes, definitely. To the number which you're quoting is a very good number to start with, Samar. And yes, obviously, you'll get much more percentile and marks as well on the D-Day. If I quote myself only, then I don't remember in any of the mocks I used to score more than 98.5 percentile, or I crossed 98 percentile ever in the mocks. I never used to do it, but directly on the mock on the D-Day, I scored 99.96 because the number of candidates who are giving the actual CMAT exam is much higher than the people who are giving the mocks. So automatically the cutoffs lower down, and you tend to score much higher marks. But you keep a basic target for yourself to at least cross 99 percentile in the mocks. Like this is what I used to keep my target at. Gopal, just message me on WhatsApp. I'll help you with that. Same for you, Poonam, as well. Hmm. Okay, so does anyone have any other question pertaining to GK? Actually, I don't remember like international research topic. It was one of the question. So some question it might be regarding. I don't remember. It is back on 2020 and 2021. So I don't remember much about that. So उसके related कुछ question था and मैंने उसके ऊपर कुछ बताया रहेगा. Nothing else. Yes, Rutuja, I'll just ask you one. Rutuja, if you have any question, you can raise it. So I'll just give my number. Shubham, I'm just reiterating this fact again and again. You can message me on WhatsApp. I'll help you with the YouTube channels which I used to prepare. Uh, so yeah, Samaj, as I said, like Olympics and Khelo India are very vast topics, right? I agree to your point. इसमें पढ़ने जाए तो कितना पढ़े? Like so many games, so many countries or the countries which have participated in, कितना कुछ है? So many medals, कौन कितना लेके गया? You can't keep a track. So one thing you can do is, if I were in your shoes, कोई particular country का कोई current affairs में नाम आ रहा है, या कोई particular person का current affairs में नाम आ रहा है, and it is somewhere related to Olympics or Khelo India. So I'll keep that as my priority to learn more about it, because these two are currently correlated, and high probability chances कि इसमें से कुछ question पूछा जा सकता है. So इतना पूरा मैं पढ़ नहीं सकता. Still, I'll go through one YouTube channel, one YouTube video of Olympics and one YouTube video on Khelo India as well, to just to get a brief idea कि major happenings क्या हुए थे, and just make a note of it. Not going in depth about it. So Aditya, like CET is a now the level of CET has gone down. But earlier, CET used to be much tougher than what CMAT had to offer for the rest of the other topics. So I would say it is on the same level now. CET also भी अभी एकदम basic question पूछने लग गया है. CMAT also the questions which are asked to in easy to medium level. They aren't much that difficult. So Rutuja, as of now, this session is specifically focused on GK. I'll take a separate session on innovation and entrepreneurship. There we'll discuss in detail how to proceed with it. As of now, you can study what material you have been provided with your coaching classes, or there are available resources on YouTube as well. Shivani, same. I'll just like this is some type of data which I can't reveal on this particular portal. So you can message me on WhatsApp. I'll help you with it.